For today's project, I'm working on a very delicate piece. It was an absolute find, just £5 on Marketplace, and I absolutely love it. So I thought I would just take you on that journey. I haven't made all of my decisions with this piece. One thing that I have decided on, I want to paint it a soft blue, and I'm going to be using Iron Orchid's paint inlays on the piece. I think it's so delicate, it deserves that hand-painted feel. So let's take a closer look at the project. Well, I'm pretty sure you'll understand what drew me to this gorgeous table, and that is this bottom support. It's absolutely beautiful. I've never seen anything quite like it on a piece of furniture, so it really deserves a really wonderful makeover. The piece of furniture is not without its problems. It's got a little chip out of the back here, which I'm going to fix with some 2-part filler and sand that smooth. There are 1 or 2 other bumps and chips out of the edges of the drawer. I'm going to leave them. I want this piece to look as if it was painted many years ago, and that's how it started out life, rather than a dark piece of furniture. The paint inlay that I've chosen to use is this one with laurel leaves, and it's got a beautiful floral motif, which I think would be good maybe on the internal of the drawer and the top surface. And then there are many trims, different trims, so I can do round the edges, across the drawer, and maybe even on those lovely details at the bottom. The colours that I've decided to go with are soft blues. Now, blue is a colour that I don't use so often, but at the moment I seem to be using it quite a lot, so I'm feeling the blue vibes. I'm not sure why. I'm going to be mixing a colour of Louis blue and old white to get a really soft blue as a base coat, and then I'm going to play around with Oberson to maybe contour blend it a little bit around the edges, so there's a little slight difference of nuance of colour before we apply the paint inlays. So this means that I'm not applying the paint inlays directly into the paint. I want to get a really wonderful paint finish before I choose to apply them, and that means I have to use the lacquer method. I will link into the description box my original paint inlay tutorial. I think there's lots of knowledge in that overall piece, how to use them directly into chalk paint or with the lacquer method, which I did use the lacquer method on the overall piece, but there's a large section at the beginning which explains both ways. So check that out if you've not seen the paint inlays before. Let's get stuck in with a soft Louis blue white mix over the whole piece, not before fixing that little bump out the back. So onwards and upwards. So the base coat is now on, the lovely mix of Louis Blue Old White. I really love the shade. I have to admit, off camera, I've had to stain block and prime it in between the two coats. I didn't catch that on camera, I just got away with myself and didn't film it. So there was a few bits of bleed through on the drawer and the side, which has led me to take a different direction with the piece, just because applying the paint inlays with wet lacquer, it could really encourage more of that bleed through to the surface. Sometimes I just leave bleed through because I quite like it, but in this case it was just in two areas. So I'm going to go with a more solid colour and then do the paint inlay, finish with my lacquer, and then maybe do a paint effect over the top of that. That's something that I've never done before. So first up, I've got to decide where my paint inlays are going to go. I've still got quite a bit of paint in the same colour mix, so that means I can apply them straight into chalk paint. So I'm going to lay out all of the paint inlays, work out which is the best pattern for this small little piece. Okay, so I'm figuring out my pattern. So I've cut them up to size. These ones I'm going to use as a border around the top. I have removed the ends because they overlapped one another. It went like that on each end. And I'm thinking that I will reuse the little leaf on the corner just to make the corners a little bit more square. So I'm going to cut that on an angle, so I get a nice little leaf on each edge. I have used this section of the paint inlay from about here, from that connection to about there, for the lower, these bulbous supports. So that is that. So I think they're going to really work well there. Although I do need a little tail, so I might have to steal some more of these leaves. So I've cut some of these leaves out, and we may add a little leaf on the end just to travel down that arm. So that's good. I'm thinking the floral in the centre without the, I've taken these away because I think adding more of them on is just going to be a little bit too much to go around. So the floral in the centre is going to be alone, and I can reuse these. The front drawer, I'm going to use, this is a slightly different pattern, if you can see, it's slightly bigger. There's a couple of these, which I think that'll fit lovely across the drawer. I'm not going to cut that down to size because I can just wrap it around the sides. So that's going to sit there, happy with that. I haven't decided for the centre. I think I'm going to just take out maybe this rose for the centre. of that circle and just sandwich that in, cut it neatly out for that center. So we've got roses on top, roses on the bottom, and then that leaves this slightly bigger pattern. There were 6 of these, so 4 of them have been used on the bottom, the middle section, and I think I am going to apply them either side, there and there, and then I'll worry about the back later. If there's anything left, we may just add something along the back just to kind of tie it all in, so it's really quite conducive all the way around the whole piece. So it's now time to start applying the paint inlays directly into the chalk paint. I'm going to probably work with, I think I'll work on the lower surface first before working on the top, because that's a little bit more fiddly, and then I can move with ease on the top. I want this to be as perfect as possible. The first paint inlay I always think is a little bit more awkward than any of the others, and once you've applied that, you get a bit more comfortable with laying them down. So I'm going to lay these to one side, away from my paint, away from my water, because remember, these, if you get paint on these, it will cause an anomaly when you place them down. So I'm going to clean my surface, prepare everything for the lower half, and then we're going to start applying. Okay, so I have a layout of where I want to place the paint inlays. I did cut out a medallion of the flowers to sit in the center, and I felt like it was a little bit too heavy. So I took the leftovers and broke it into 3 different pieces, little flowers, just so that we can have a little bit of the blue showing around the edges. So I'm just gonna pop the big section down first and then overlap the 2 others. So first up, in with my blue paint into the center, like so. Quite a healthy coat, I would say. Make sure it's clean around the edges. That's that. And then I'm going to spray the paint inlays. I sometimes spray them on the paint side, but you can spray them on the back. That's how they suggest to use it, just so that you've got a little bit more flexibility with the paint inlay. And I'm going to place it down directly into the paint. And the 2 other little extras, I'm going to overlap a little bit over that one, so that the pattern, I've cut the pattern quite clean to the edge, so I can just place these where I feel like it will look good. And I have a little leaf here. Don't forget, you need the paint inlay down side into the paint. So and then we can give that a little mist. And I've got a damp sponge as well, just to make sure that we've got good contact to the paint. Now I'm going to move on to the little flourishes, which are going to sit there. They're all upright at the minute, so I can see the pattern. I'm going to flip them round into the paint once we apply the paint. Again, I've cut the pattern quite close to the edges where it needs to connect, and then I can add on the little leaf flourishes where I want them to go, just on the end. Now moving on to the top surface, I feel a little bit more confident about laying the paint inlays. If you can hear rain, all of a sudden, beautiful sunshiny day, and it's now tipping down. I'm sure it'll go in a little while. So, the first paint inlay, I've decided it's really good lengthways this way. And then of course I've got all of my borders. The borders will be slightly more difficult because I've kind of got to estimate the same amount of space at each end. But I'm not going to worry about that. It'll give it the more natural feel if they're slightly off. So in with my paint, healthy amount again, covering the whole top surface. Working quite quick because it's a larger area and we're doing a jigsaw puzzle with the paint inlays. I'm going to worry about clean up on the edge afterwards. I don't know where the rain has just come from. It's not April, it should be April showers. I'm sure it'll go in a little while. Smoothing down. And in for a spritz on the back of the inlay. This spritzing the back or the front of the inlay allows a little bit of stretch to the inlay, which allows them to be less wrinkly when they go down into the paint. I'm quite happy with that. Just going to leave that where it is for now, and we'll start with the borders. I'm going to start at the back. Lining up the edge about 1 inch. Whilst my paint inlays are drying, I'm turning my attention to perhaps the internal of the drawer. I've got to paint that inside. I'm thinking I might use a decoupage paper, one of my own, on the inside for a little bit more excitement, surprise and delight inside, I suppose. One thing that I would say at this moment is the bleed through is back, I think. I have no idea what's going to happen on the paint inlays. Because there's lots of water being added to apply the paint inlays, it looks kind of yellowy instead of white on the surface of the paper. So especially on the lower half, I use quite a lot of water, so I have no idea on how they're going to come out. It might discolour the Louis Blue Old White mix, and I might have to go back in and hand painting. I suppose the fix is what you guys want to see. So if it has bled through to the surface of the blue paint, you can see somebody's coming. God, what are you doing here?
Oh, are you on camera? Oh, I didn't. Hi!
You've interrupted my filming.
Is this
Oh, my
live?
heart's going. No, it's not live.
YouTube.
It's YouTube.
Hi,
Say hello.
YouTube.
What are you doing here? No.
What are you
Good to
doing?
see
What are you doing?
Oh my goodness, now you've thrown me. So we have Solly Joe in the studio. Are you going to help me?
Yeah.
I was just about to use our paper.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Oh my goodness, I'm thrown. I'm going to cut here and get
It's tipping
sorted.
It down. It's tipping it down.
Is it tipping it down? Okay, let's have a look. Now we've got a plane going past.
Right, shall I start painting? Is
Yeah.
this clean?
Just rub it in there.
Just lob it in
Right, as soon as that plane's gone, I'm going to start speaking. Okay, so I've now calmed down and I've got my friend beside me, and I am literally going to put Josie to work because she knows decoupage paper much better than me, I think. Use it more than me anyway. So what Josie is doing is just giving the internal part of the drawer a coat of white paint. Now, I am a big believer in always painting white. What do you think about painting white before decoupage paper?
Especially with the rice paper,
Yeah.
because they're very translucent.
I think most definitely rice paper, as well, because I've got the fibres in there and they're white. If you have a light base, they look so much better, in my opinion. Not unless you're going for a different look. Anyway, I'm rambling on. Let me grab the paper that I'm going to use for the internal, and it's one of mine with Josie. It's Posh Chalk Deluxe decoupage papers, and this is her Curios, one that I made in this very studio, with lots of family pieces on the paper, which is lovely. I'll open it up. I'm going to find a good section to apply into the drawer. The reason I'm using this is it's got lots of lovely details, and we found it really does look kind of 3D.
Everybody says that to me.
Once it's down on a white background, it looks really 3D. So it'll look like there's things inside the drawer. I'll open it right out and we can have a bit of a look. It's got lots of lovely things on the surface. So I will find a lovely area of this paper. There's loads going on. We'll use a corner so I don't waste it and we can use it for other jobs. You're doing a great job there.
Thank you.
This is great fun. I wouldn't have expected you to arrive here when we're just a few days from PBA.
I know.
I'm going to be seeing you in a few days. So what a surprise. That's amazing. Thank you.
Well, we just said we were bored, and Theo just said to me this morning, he said, what do you want to do then? I said, well, I'll leave that up to you. He said, well, let's go see Jonathan and Dennis. So we just got the
Oh, that's dead good. And now we've sent Theo to the supermarket, and probably him and Mr. M are going to cook, I reckon. Maybe. Nibbles at least. And that's great. Okay, so Josie's done a great job of painting the interior for the decoupage. Again, there's bleed through. So this piece of furniture really has kicked back, but it doesn't matter for the decoupage application. It's nice and light. So now all we've got to do is lay this out and find what we want as our design. So many things. I've got an idea where I think it needs to be. This is the front edge, and I think, let me just fold this in half, I think it wants to be, there's some lovely pale blue gloves, satin gloves, and I think it wants to go there, showing those satin gloves. So when you open the drawer, it looks like there's a set of gloves inside, and I love this, and that's my grandma, and that's my granddad's artwork and musical notes. So I think there's enough blue, and the lovely neutral colour should set off the IOD paint inlay. So that's where I'm thinking it needs to go. We will need to take the leading edge off, which I'll probably do with a pair of scissors. I'm just going to kind of push it in first to kind of get where I think it needs to be. I think it needs to be about there. We'll cut that edge off in a moment. And what I'm going to do is go up the sides as well, and we'll make a dry fit, I think. So I think the first thing to do is probably just cut this a bit wider. I'll cut it along that edge so it just frees it up a little bit, and then I'll work a little bit more as long as we've got enough. So I know that that needs to go. I want to keep all of that glove. That needs to go there, so I can cut just in front of my mum. That's my mum. So I'll make sure that I keep her for the waist. We can use that on another project. So that makes it easier to work with. That can be folded up and go back in the packaging. I can reuse that for another project. Right, I'm going to take this leading edge off because I'm going to do it not up the front side, because not many people will ever see the front side. We're going to keep that level with the bottom, if that makes sense. Take these edges off. I'm working with scissors. You can fray the edges with a wet paintbrush, but because it's nice and square, everything's going to be square on this piece. It's like wrapping a present at Christmas, I suppose. Right, I want more glove, so I'm going to do that. I'm not going to worry about the excess, as long as there's enough to cover the interior. Yes. So it will stretch a little bit as well. So what I've got to do, it's like hospital corners here. I'm going to push into the corners, and I'm going to make, that is actually on the natural fold of the paper, which is great. Fold it down, like so. So that's the base. Push that into there. And then I can chop out the corners. That needs to be a bit neater. Oh, it's scary having the boss here. She's hovering over me. I'm going to make her glue in with the infuser. So now I know that I need to lose the little corners. So I'm going to pull that to one side. And then we have, cut that straight down. Oops, a little bit too much of a cut there. I will cut it slightly inwardly because then it can overlap on the corner. So if I don't do it square and cut slightly a bit extra, then it can overlap. And you will not see any of that. So a little bit inwardly there and there. So that's what we have. And I'm going to make sure that these are nice and folded back to make it easy for Josie to lay it down on the base. And then we can push the flaps back up and up the sides. And then we can address the excess later. So there we have it. Do you reckon you can work with that, Josie?
I think so. Yeah.
So we've got the brushes here. Josie can tell us all about the brushes. We'll bring this back in. Shot infuser. Tell us a bit about your infuser.
Infuser is one of our magical products for multi-purposes, so you can apply your decoupage with it, you can mix your pigments with it, and it's also great as an outdoor sealer. It's one of our best-selling products. I only just found this out the other day, how many we've sold.
It's one of the best sellers.
It is the best, most out of the single products.
It's one of the best sellers.
Yeah.
Well, it's because it's multi-use.
Mm.
So it sits with all of the other products.
So I'm just going to tip a little bit inside.
Little drizzle.
Drizzle. And your first layer really just,
We've got another visitor, Josie.
Hello, Lily.
She hasn't been in a video for a while. She's going to get all glued in with infuser. Oh,
Hello.
there you go.
Hello,
Right on
Lily.
cue. She's here. She wants to know what's going on.
So the first layer is just really to get
adhesion for the paper.
just get the paper in place really. So I'm putting my wet brush aside.
Oh,
Hello, darling.
Hello. Let Josie do her job. You can come
So coming in with a dry brush now. And just edging that. I mean, Jonathan's done it so well. He's folded it so well. This is just so easy.
What a great draw liner.
Mm.
It's exciting.
Fabulous, yeah. So I can pick it up. So I don't want much infuser. Pick it up and just bring it right into those corners there. And if you do make a mistake, you have got a couple of minutes before it actually dries to just peel it up and readjust it or get rid of any crinkles. So we'll go for the sides now. Am I doing this right?
Yeah, just ram it into the corners, I think. Awesome.
Really getting the bristles into those corners there.
Those brushes are perfect for this job.
They are.
Do you know, I've been painting with those brushes as well. And they're really great for paint. Quick and easy and really comfortable on your hand.
These are the blend and...
So they're built for paint. For paint as well.
Oh yeah. But I love them for decoupage.
Yeah, it's the easiest thing.
Smooth and blend. The smooth and blend brushes. Right, so now we've got the... So that's nice and that's still nice and dry. Have you got a water spritzer?
I have. It's right here. A little atomizer.
Oh, look at her.
Lily, come and say hello, Lil. Come on. We've got Lily. Come on. Come and say hello. She's not going to.
So to get I'm going to seal it with another coat of infuser now, but to really allow it to infuse into the paper, I'm just spritzing it with an atomizer. Mine says Jonathan Mark Mendes on it. I was going to show them.
Mine doesn't. These atomizers, people ask all of the time, so I don't like shopping Amazon. I like shopping local, but they're hard to come by. One place you may find them if you want to shop local is a hairdressing wholesalers.
Really? Oh,
yeah,
wow.
That's where they started out live, before us furniture painters started using them.
Oh, so I've made a bit of a mess there. That's okay. I'm just going to pull it back up.
I think we have
And
CO
smooth
back.
Over with my brush.
That's wonderful.
And it just really consolidates the paper with the infuser underneath. So you've got the infuser underneath, your paper in the middle, water and a bit more infuser, and it just creates like a consolidation, a sandwich of consolidated paper and infuser. And that will then never budge. Once it's dry, you can go over it with another coat if you wish. But that's usually enough. I'm looking a bit skew whiff here. So making sure the sides are
Plenty on, so that we can use a piece of sandpaper and remove that little lip at the end. I don't want to fold it over because of the sliding of the drawer really. We have Mr. Theo in the house now. He's been to buy some shopping for us to have some nibbles. This is exciting. Will we ever finish the project? Probably not. Now Nibbles has arrived. Should we start calling Theo Nibbles?
Mr. Nibbles.
Mr. Nibbles.
So, there you are.
Beautiful. We leave it to dry now, and then I'll probably start taking the paint inlays off.
Just look how the gloves...
Beautiful.
It looks like, I think when you open the drawers, it looked like you've actually placed
Gloves
a pair
there.
of gloves there.
I love it. Thank you.
There you go.
Okay, so whilst we've got Josie here, I'm going to make her complete the decoupage and remove this leading edge from the drawer. So how are we going to do that, Josie?
I think the best option is, as we said before, to use a little bit of sandpaper.
Yes.
We're using 80 grit, which might be a little bit dangerous, but we will see.
It's all I've got in the workshop today. Go for it.
So when you're when you're sanding down your decoupage, always sand away from the edge that is stuck, because if I sand that way, I endanger it unsticking from the surface. I'm just going to gently, you see that? Just gently go. That's one edge done. So again, I'm sanding away from the bonded edge.
You're an expert.
You should be by now, mate.
I've never had so many people in the workshop. So we've got an audience of Mr. M and Theo in the house. If you can hear the phones pinging, that's because they're sat on the other side of the camera. Say hello, boys.
Hi. Hello.
Mr. M.
Hello.
There you go. I'm loving this. Beautiful.
So there you have it.
Nice and clean in the drawer front. A little bit of tidying up to do with some of the paintwork, but other than that, we're good to go. So it's now time for me to take off the paint inlays and see whether we did get bleed through on that. I have no idea. But let's start removing the paint inlays.
Ooh.
So these are the paint inlays that have gone a little bit yellowy on the surface. So that's what's leading me to think that these are going to be bled through. I don't know until we remove them. So all I'm going to do to release the carrying sheet away is to mist the surface, get them moist. This will allow them to come up freely from the surface. Also, you can go back in with your sponge, a damp sponge, just to make sure that water penetrates through the inlay and you won't get them all stuck. They tend to get stuck if you try and peel them without. So we'll start maybe here in the center, and I've got to find a corner, just gently pick away. This is a slightly tougher because there's no overhang, but just peel away. Here we go. Moment of truth. Oh, actually, it's not so yellow underneath. It's fine, I think. Fingers crossed. The bigger one. Here we go.
Wow, look at
Yeah,
that.
a little bit broken there where I've probably not pressed it down as well, but I like that look. I really like that look. Aged. There we go. So I'm going to start with these bigger ones. A little bit tough where I haven't wet it on the corners, but I'm sure it'll be all right. And peel back. Yes, they're not yellow underneath, so I'm a happy painter. And the positioning is pretty good. Oh, just look at that, beautiful. Beautiful. I'm really happy. No bleed through. Oh yes, look at that. And you can see where my connection joined with the other inlay where I added a second part, and that's really good. Lovely. And of course, these can be used again because they're straight into chalk paint. There can be one more time. See, it's a bit tough on that side because it's not so wet, but hey ho. Lovely. Last one. We'll go peeling quite level with the surface. There we go. I'm really happy with that. I lost a bit of the pattern here, but I'll make that work for me. I quite like that. It looks nice. Very nice. Right, so I'm going to move on to the top surface, I think. Let's have a bit of fun. Where's my spray bottle? It's here. I'm going to go once again, spritz the whole surface. And my damp sponge. Adding the moisture. And they should release really nicely. Right, this is going to be difficult, so let's try without scraping the paintwork. There we go, just lift a corner up. So almost there, a little bit of, I think I'm going to do a little bit of sanding towards the edges, touching the paintwork up, and then I've got to go in with my lacquer just to seal down this to the surface. Let me show you my lacquer. I have a bottle with a spray, and that's 50% water, 50% lacquer, which I'm going to spritz the whole surface just to seal down these. And then you can wax over if you want to go for that soft luster wax, tinted waxes. I was going to put some other colours over the top of this. Now I see it, I kind of really like the crispness, and normally I don't go for that look, but maybe just a little bit of knocking back here in this to the brown wood so it looks a bit aged, and then we should have a great project. So I'm really, really happy with the way this has turned out. The actual crackiness of that top section is beautiful. And notice I've repaired the actual paint inlay. So I went back and I found the piece that was missing, and I cut out a little square, and I used Josie's infuser, a little bit of infuser, bedded it back down, left it to dry and peeled it back, and there it is, it's back. So I'm really happy about that. All I'm going to do to the overall piece before I start to apply my lacquer to seal down the inlays is I'm going to do a little bit of distressing to any of the hard edges. And I've got the same piece of sandpaper, 80 grit, and I'm just going to knock back some of the edges, corners and edges, natural wear and tear. I'm not going to go too heavy with the distressing, but I just think it's really nice just to bring back a few chips here and there. I'm going to be heavier around this aperture because there's a lot of paint and it allows me to free up the drawer space. I can go into these corners so that drawer, which is already quite tight, will be able to slide freely. So the final thing to do whilst I've still got my audience on the other side of the workshop is to spray down the paint inlay with a 50-50 mix of water and lacquer. This is matte lacquer in a spray bottle, a light mist over all of the surface. Be careful not to do too much, otherwise you'll get trickles. Just a light mist and that will hold down the paint inlay. And I can add my handle to the centre of the drawer, and also magically appears from Solly Joe. It can go in the centre of there. I will pilot hole the opening again and screw that handle in, and then I think I'll go in with clear wax and probably not use any tinted waxes on this piece. I really like the strikingness of the plain colour. So it wasn't how I imagined the project to be, but somebody interrupted me in the middle of the process, and I suppose it was a good thing because it's turned out beautifully. So in with the lacquer, light mist over the top. You will get slight beading, that's fine. I really like that look of the little speckles. Once the wax hits this, it will also look really, really beautiful. Not to forget the drawer front. Leave it to dry for about half an hour, and then you can move on with your waxing.